Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Beautiful Bean Juice. I'm Michiel, and today we'll be talking about the MK Dripper. The MK Dripper is a dripper made by MK Studio, which is a company based in Denmark. They hand make all kinds of ceramics, including these drippers, but also cups and plates and pitchers. I personally really like these drippers also because they're handmade and they're unique. So I have a blue and white one, but each of them is made individually. Today I'll be making some coffee with mine. I'll be talking about what do I like about it, what do I not like about it, and who is this for, and should you get one. So a bit more of a background on this dripper. So essentially this dripper is a modified Kalita Wave with 5 holes instead of the 3 holes that a Kalita Wave typically has at the bottom. So it has a bit of a faster flow rate. It takes both Kalita Wave filters and the Cypress flat filters, which I personally prefer. I'll talk about that a bit more later in this video. Now let's brew some coffee with it, and then I'll talk you through what are the pros and cons, what do I like about it, what do I like about it less, what do I think should be improved, and then I'll close off by my recommendation, should you buy this product or not, and who is this for. Okay, so I'm ready to brew. So because it's the last bit of coffee, I have a bit of an odd amount at 17 grams approximately, so I'll be brewing up to 280. That should be okay. I'll start now. So the recipe I'm brewing is 75 gram bloom, just because I like a larger bloom to get more of that freshness and acidity out. And then I'll be doing 2 slow pours. You can see the filter is draining very quickly. I have a bit of difficulty pouring because I put my camera in a different place from what I'm used to. So see me pouring strangely, it's because I have a new camera position that I'm trying to avoid knocking over. So 130, I will add the remainder of the water. See, it's drying down pretty quickly. It's because I'm using the flat filter papers. So this recipe tends to brew at a lower extraction than most other recipes I use with this brewer, but it's just because I like to drink my natural processed coffee. This is a really funky, really natural coffee, so I like to drink them at a slightly lower extraction. And you can still get all that fruitiness and all that deliciousness out. It's one of the reasons I really like using this brewer with these filters, because the quick drawdown really helps you get that. So the timing is perfect. I finished drawing down at 2:30. So I'll be setting up the camera and tasting the coffee and talking about it. So now we'll be tasting the coffee. So this is my cup. It's also made by MK Studio. I really like this cup. This video is not sponsored. They're just things that I bought and that I enjoy using, and I kind of always use these cups because I enjoy drinking from them. And unlike the Groove cups, they actually help me cool down my coffee, which since I don't have a lot of patience, is always a benefit for me. So I'll be tasting the coffee. So yeah, this is exactly in line with what I was expecting. So it's very fruity, it's very juicy, it's a very nice cup of coffee. It has more complexity than I'm used to from most flat bottom drippers, and that's also largely in part due to the flat filters from Cypress. I notice if I brew with the wave filters, you seriously reduce that complexity that you would more typically find in like a conical brewer. I usually tend to prefer conical brewers because they give that more of that complexity, and I think brewing with the flat filters kind of gives you the nice middle ground between the complexity of a conical brew and kind of the punchiness of a flat bottom brew. I think brewing with the MK with the flat filters really gives you that kind of perfect middle ground. So I really like it, especially for these kinds of fermented, fruity, juicy type of coffees. And I think this is a great example of that type of coffee, and I really enjoy drinking it. Let's talk about pros and cons. So a big pro is what I just mentioned. It allows you to make those more complex cups while still getting kind of the classic flat bottom dripper profile of like having that kind of punchy flavors and having a bit more body. So I think it's a good middle ground when you brew with the Cypress filters, right? So I think that's, in terms of flavor, it's a really good dripper. Additionally, I think it's a very beautiful dripper. I'm happy to look at it every single day. I have it on the shelf in my kitchen, and every day when I look at it, it's beautiful, right? At least I personally think mine is beautiful, and they make so many different kinds of prints and colors that probably anybody could find a version that they would think is beautiful. Additionally, it's quite easy to brew it, and because it takes multiple filters, you can be quite creative with how you brew with it, and it is quite versatile, and it takes quite a lot of filters. I would say because it still has a slower flow rate than the Ori, I would say, in terms of like grinding fine and doing those kinds of recipes, it doesn't handle that as well. But overall, I would say it's still quite a versatile dripper that you can brew quite a lot of different styles of coffee with. So what are some things that I like less about it? Well, one thing is the price, and I think the price is fair. I think the price makes sense. The dripper is beautiful. They're handmade, but it's an expensive dripper, and it's definitely not the best bang for buck dripper. Like you could get cheaper flat bottom drippers that will do a comparable job, maybe not as good, but will get you close to this. For example, I think the glass Oreo, which is much cheaper, also does a great job. So I would say if you're just trying to save money, this is probably not the dripper for you. I personally still think it's really worth the money because I love how it looks. I think it's beautiful, and it's handmade. It's very well made. So I totally understand where the cost is coming from, but it's something to take into account. Additionally, I personally don't like that much how it brews with wave filters. So I think that with the wave filters, it still brews a bit slow for my taste. I prefer it for the holes to be a bit bigger, but I know this is something they're working on. They're working on a V2, so I've seen that online. So I think the future iterations of this will probably have that changed. And it's not that you can't brew with a wave filter. It's more that personally, when I brew with the wave filters, I tend to take my Oria over the MK because of the higher flow rate, and just because that's my preference. If I usually when I brew with a wave filter, I want like a very thick body type cup, and it's easier to get that with Oria because you're just able to grind a bit finer. Should you buy this dripper? And my answer is it depends. So personally, I'm really happy I bought it because I think it's beautiful. I think it's very well made. I think it makes great coffee. And the price isn't that much of an issue for me. I think it's worth it. I think it makes sense considering it's handmade and considering the level of quality that they've put into it. If you're the kind of person who just wants a flat bottom dripper that doesn't really care that much about the aesthetics, and will put it somewhere away in a cabinet and it doesn't really look at it, that's just looking for something purely functional, I would say there's better drippers out there, or there's other drippers out there that are at least a lot cheaper. I have the Lavremix flat bottom dripper. I've only used it once, but it performed quite similarly to the MK with the wave filters. Additionally, you have the glass Oreo, which I also did a review on. If you haven't checked that out, I'll put a link at the end of the video. That's also a great dripper, and I think if you're trying to save money, or if you're trying to brew good coffee on more of a budget, that's probably a better option. But if you love the design, if you think it looks good, if you want to brew more complex coffees with your flat bottom dripper, then I think the MK is really the dripper for you. Did I cover everything you want? Are there any other questions you have? Do you have one? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching. Have a beautiful day.